There are moments in Christian mysticism when heaven bends so close to earth that the boundary between the seen and unseen becomes transparent. For Saint Faustina, one of those moments occurred not in a chapel, nor in a vision of Christ's glory, but in the place most souls fear to imagine, Purgatory. What she witnessed there would change forever, how she understood suffering, mercy, and the tenderness of the Mother of God. Because in that place of purification, Faustina saw something unexpected, something luminous, gentle, and overwhelming. She saw Our Lady, not distant, not symbolic, present. Before we go deeper, let me ask you something from the heart. If you imagine the Virgin Mary stepping into a place filled with the ache of souls longing for God, what would you expect her presence to do? Would you expect comfort, light, healing, or something far more mysterious, something that reveals the depth of her role in the salvation of her children? Faustina entered Purgatory already trembling. She felt the heaviness of longing, the weight of unfinished love, the burning desire of souls who yearned for God with every fiber of their being. It was not a place of screams or terror, it was a place of truth, a place where the soul sees itself clearly and loves God fiercely, painfully, completely. And yet even truth can feel unbearable when the soul is still being purified. Then, in that atmosphere of longing and fire, light appeared. Not the fierce light of judgment, not the consuming radiance of divine glory, but a softer light, a mother's light. Faustina saw Mary enter Purgatory as a queen who does not fear her people's wounds, and as a mother who refuses to abandon her children even in the places where they suffer the consequences of their earthly choices. Her presence did not eliminate the purification, but it transformed the atmosphere entirely. Faustina described it as a shift so immediate, so profound, that the suffering souls became aware of her before they even turned toward her. The way a child senses a mother's presence, long before seeing her face. But here is where it becomes astonishing. The souls did not cry out, they did not rush forward, they did not ask for release, they simply opened, the way flowers open toward the sun, the way hearts open toward love they can finally feel. Mary's presence in Purgatory was not that of a judge, nor of an observer, nor of a queen maintaining distance. She came as a mother, tender, attentive, merciful, carrying consolation that did not remove the fire, but made it bearable. Faustina watched the entire place brighten. She watched the souls lift their longing toward her like a fragile offering. She watched the Mother of God move among them with a compassion more fierce than pity, the compassion of a woman whose Son has opened heaven itself with his blood. And this left Faustina with a single trembling question. Why would Our Lady come here? Why to this place? Why to these souls? The answer is one of the most beautiful revelations Faustina ever received, and it reshapes everything we think we know about Mary's role in salvation. Most people imagine Mary surrounded by heavenly radiance, adored by angels crowned in glory. We picture her in scenes of peace, beauty, and divine gentleness, but few ever imagine her stepping into the shadows of Purgatory, a realm of longing, purification, and holy fire. And yet that is precisely where Faustina saw her. This vision raises a question that shatters our assumptions. Why would the Mother of God willingly enter a place of suffering? To understand the depth of this, we must look at something fundamental about Mary, something many overlook. A mother does not love her children only when they are beautiful. She loves them especially when they are wounded. Let me ask you gently, have you ever watched a mother sit beside a sick child, tired, pale, aching, and refuse to leave even when she cannot remove the illness? Her presence does not cure the child, but it brings something that medicine alone cannot offer: comfort, courage, and the strength to endure. This is exactly what Faustina witnessed, but magnified beyond human measure. Our Lady enters Purgatory not to end purification, but to accompany it, not to remove the fire, but to transform it. Her presence does not shorten the necessary process, but it softens the suffering with meaning, tenderness, and hope. Faustina saw something profound. When Mary entered, the atmosphere of longing did not disappear, but it changed. The fire did not cease, but it became less frightening. The souls did not stop yearning, but their yearning was no longer lonely. Mary's love does not eliminate justice. It surrounds justice with mercy. And here is the astonishing truth Faustina perceived. Mary does not fear purgatory, because she is mother in every realm where her children need her. There is no corner of human sorrow she refuses to enter. No darkness too deep, no fire too hot, no suffering too shameful. Wherever her children ache, Mary's heart goes. This is why her presence in purgatory is not symbolic. It is maternal. She comes because her children are there. She comes because her son's mercy is burning in them. She comes because purification is painful, and mothers do not abandon pain. Faustina observed that the souls responded to Mary not with fear, but with trust, a trust so immediate that it startled her. Souls burdened by the weight of past failures suddenly lifted their hearts as though remembering a truth they had forgotten on earth. She is still our mother, even here, especially here. And then Faustina realized something even more mysterious. Mary does not simply visit purgatory, she intercedes within it. Her prayers there are not abstract, they are intimate. They do not bypass the soul's purification, they strengthen it. They do not cancel suffering, they sanctify it. Our Lady moves through purgatory with purpose, a purpose Faustina would soon understand when she heard what Mary said to the suffering souls. What happened next is one of the most tender and breathtaking revelations ever recorded in Marian mysticism. When Mary appeared in purgatory, Faustina immediately sensed something extraordinary, almost paradoxical. The Mother of God did not arrive with the majesty of a queen descending from heaven. She arrived with the quietness of someone stepping into a room of the suffering, careful not to startle a single soul. Her presence was light, yes, but it was a gentle light. A light that did not blind but beckoned, a light that did not consume but consoled. Faustina wrote that Mary's appearance did not alter the state of purification. What God had decreed remained intact. Yet the entire atmosphere shifted the instant she entered. It was as though the fire of longing, which had burned fiercely and painfully moments before, suddenly recognized its purpose. And then something beautiful happened. The souls lifted their eyes. Not because they were freed, not because their suffering vanished, but because a mother's presence awakened hope. Let me ask you something quietly. Have you ever been in pain, emotional or physical, and merely having someone who loves you sit beside you changed everything, even if your pain remained? That is what Faustina witnessed on a supernatural scale. Mary did not approach the souls as royalty. She approached them as a mother. She moved among them with tenderness, her gaze resting on each soul with a love so personal that Faustina felt overwhelmed by it. There was no rush in her steps, no distance in her expression. She came near, near enough that the souls felt seen, understood, remembered. And then Mary did what only a mother could do. She comforted them without weakening the fire that purified them. This is a mystery most people have never considered. Her consolation does not interrupt God's justice. Her love does not cancel God's purification. Her presence does not erase their longing. Instead, she makes their suffering bearable, not by reducing it, but by filling it with meaning. Faustina saw the souls respond in a way that astonished her. They didn't cry out for rescue. They didn't beg for release. They didn't demand explanations. They simply received her. Their longing, already pure, became peaceful. Their fire, already holy, became hopeful. Their suffering, already necessary, became dignified. Then Faustina witnessed something even more moving. Wherever Mary looked, light followed. Wherever she paused, peace deepened. Wherever she raised her hand, grace flowed, not as liberation, but as strengthening. And in that moment, Faustina understood the truth that would stay with her forever. Mary's role in purgatory is not to end suffering, but to accompany it with love so fierce that it transforms the soul from within. But the most astonishing moment was still to come, because Mary did not remain silent. She spoke to the souls, and what she said revealed the depth of her maternal mission. There is a moment in every true mystical encounter when silence becomes a form of communication. Before Mary spoke, purgatory grew even quieter, if such a thing were possible. The longing of the souls seemed to pause, as though creation itself were holding its breath, waiting for a mother to speak to her children. And when Mary finally opened her lips, Faustina said her voice sounded like mercy in the form of sound. She did not speak with authority. She did not speak with judgment. She did not speak with sorrow. She spoke with tenderness. The tenderness of someone who suffers with her children, not simply for them. Let me ask you something deeply. If you were suffering in a place of purification and longing, what words from a mother would you most long to hear? Comfort, reassurance, forgiveness, strength. Mary gave them something greater than all of these. Her first words were, "Be patient, my children. Not be afraid, not hurry. Not, your suffering is punishment. Simply, be patient." Faustina understood instantly that Mary was not urging them to passively endure. She was reminding them that their suffering had purpose, that God Himself was completing His work in them, and that the day of their entrance into heaven was assured. Then Mary said something that shook Faustina's heart. God does not forget you. In a place where the soul burns with longing for God's presence, these words were not comforting, they were transformative. The souls turned toward her as if a fresh breath of hope swept through their very being. But Mary did not stop there. Her next words revealed her maternal mission. "I intercede for you without ceasing." Imagine hearing that from the lips of the Mother of God. Imagine knowing that even while suffering, you are wrapped in the prayer of the one whose intercession moves the heart of the King. This was the moment Faustina understood something profound. Mary's presence in purgatory is not symbolic. It is active, it is powerful, it participates directly in the purification of the souls. Mary then lifted her eyes upward, toward God, and the entire place brightened. Faustina described it as though even the fire of purgatory bowed in reverence. And then, with a gentleness that felt like light passing through dawn, Mary told the souls, "Your suffering is nearing its end." Not because she shortens purification arbitrarily, but because her intercession strengthens the soul's desire for God, and desire itself hastens purification. Her final words were the ones Faustina carried for the rest of her life. "Trust in the mercy of my Son." To the souls, these words were salvation. To Faustina, they were mission. To us, they are a reminder that suffering is never the last word, not even in purgatory. But Mary's visit was not only for the souls there, it was a message for the world. And what Faustina learned next reveals how Our Lady's presence in purgatory changes everything about how we should pray, hope, and live. There are moments in the spiritual life when a truth is revealed not to frighten us but to transform us. After hearing the words of Mary spoken over the souls in purgatory, Faustina suddenly understood something she had never fully grasped before. Mary does not enter purgatory merely to console the suffering, she enters to teach the living. Her presence there is a message, a warning, a reassurance, a roadmap. And Faustina realized that everything Mary said to the souls was also meant for those still walking the earth, those who still have the power to respond to grace, to change their destiny, and to love God freely before purification begins. Let me ask you something sincere. If you knew with absolute certainty that Mary visits the souls in purgatory, would it change the way you pray? Would it change the way you think about sin, forgiveness, or mercy? Would it change the value you place on small sacrifices, hidden virtues, or unseen acts of love? This was exactly the shift Faustina experienced. Mary's words, "Be patient. God does not forget you. I intercede for you without ceasing. Trust in the mercy of my Son," were not only for the suffering souls, they were for us. Because the truth is this: everything that happens in purgatory is a continuation of what began on earth. The soul that learns to trust now will trust more quickly then. The soul that learns to surrender now will surrender more peacefully then. The soul that learns to love sacrificially now will endure purification with far less agony later. Mary enters purgatory to remind the souls of these truths, but she appears to Faustina to remind us. Faustina understood that Mary's maternal mission does not begin at death. It accompanies the soul from life to death, through purification and into glory. And this is where her realization becomes astonishing. Mary helps us most in purgatory by helping us now. On earth, Her intercession softens the heart. In purgatory, it strengthens the soul. In heaven, it crowns the purified with grace. But the greatest difference she makes is before death, when the soul can still choose, still change, still respond, still love. Faustina wrote that Mary's presence in purgatory is both a consolation to the suffering and a warning to the living. Do not wait for purification to teach you love. Learn it now. Because purification is not punishment. It is completion. It is love, doing its final, painful work. And Mary, Mother Queen Intercessor, longs for her children to enter heaven not barely purified, but radiant, ready, fully surrendered. This is why her presence in purgatory matters. It is why her words echo through Faustina's writings. It is why the Church calls her refuge of sinners and comfort of the afflicted. Mary wants to accompany us, not only at death, not only in suffering, but in the everyday choices that prepare us for eternity. What Faustina learned next reveals exactly how Mary helps souls on earth avoid the suffering of purgatory entirely. There is a kind of knowledge that changes how a person lives forever. When Saint Faustina saw Our Lady in purgatory, she understood something breathtaking, not just about the soul's suffering there, but about us, about every living person who still walks the earth with the chance to shape eternity. Because after witnessing Mary console the souls, strengthen them and intercede for them, Faustina asked the question that had risen silently in her heart. Mother, how do you help souls before they come to this place? And Mary's answer was not thunderous, it was not dramatic, it was not wrapped in mystical symbolism, it was simple, so simple it was terrifying. I obtain for them the grace to love, not visions, not ecstasies, not extraordinary gifts, not supernatural protections, love. Because everything that happens in purgatory is at its core the perfection of love. What the soul refuses to love on earth, it must learn to love in fire. What the soul delays in surrender, it must complete in longing. What the soul resists in humility, it must embrace through purification. Mary helps us most, not by preventing suffering, not by removing trials, but by giving us the capacity to love rightly now, so that purification later is minimal, gentle, or even unnecessary. Let me ask you something quietly, honestly. If you examined your heart today, would you find love that is willing to bend, to forgive, to sacrifice, to surrender, to trust beyond comfort? Or would you find love that is partial, hesitant, afraid? This is the truth Faustina realized. Purgatory is not where God punishes the soul. It is where the soul learns to love God with the fullness it once delayed. And Mary's mission is to help us avoid that delay. Faustina wrote that Our Lady draws near to souls on earth much more frequently than most people suspect. Not in apparitions, not in visions, but in the tiny movements of grace, the sudden desire to pray, the unexpected urge to forgive, the softening of anger, the impulse to surrender a fear, the strength to choose humility instead of pride, the quiet nudge to return to God after wandering. These are not passing emotions. They are Marian interventions. And every time we respond, the fire of purgatory becomes smaller. Every time we resist, it grows. This was the final revelation Faustina carried from her vision. Mary comes to purgatory because she refuses to abandon her children, but she longs for them to need her there as little as possible. Her desire is not to rescue us after death, but to guide us into holiness during life, to teach us to love now, to purify our intentions now, to surrender our pride now, to embrace mercy now, because the soul that allows Mary to form its heart on earth will pass through death not with fear, but with trust, and may enter heaven more swiftly than it ever imagined. This is why Faustina trembled when she described her vision, not out of fear, but out of awe. She had seen what awaits us if we delay love. She had seen who awaits us if we embrace it. And she understood the deepest truth of all. Mary does not wait for us in heaven. She walks with us now, so that heaven may not be far.